Hey, what's up guys? Eternal Fire here, and today I'm bringing you a video on the Vengeance Demon Hunter and the Legion Beta. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Spellbook, the single and AoE target rotations, as well as the survivability of the Demon Hunter. We're going to be looking at the talent trees, the build that I chose, and then we're going to talk about stat priorities, and also take a quick look at the artifact weapon. With that said, let's get into the Spellbook. First, we have Consume Magic. It's an interrupt, locking them out of that school for 3 seconds, and upon successful interrupt, generates 50 pain. Now, if I haven't mentioned it before, pain is the resource for the tank Demon Hunter. Then we have Demon Spikes. It costs 20 pain, instant ability on a 14.4 second recharge or based on your haste, and then Surge with Fell Power, increasing your parry chance by 20% and reducing physical damage taken by 28% for 6 seconds. Then we have Empower Wards. It's an instant ability on a 20-second cooldown, reduces magical damage taken by 30% for 6 seconds. So Demon Spikes is physical damage, Empower Wards is magical damage. So you'd want to put that up during, a boss casting a magic ability against you, and you want Demon Spikes up pretty much all the time if you can do it. I mean, you can't have 100% uptime on it, but you never want to have just 2 charges sitting there because you're denying yourself mitigation. Then we have Fiery Brand. It's an instant ability on a 1-minute cooldown. Brand an enemy with a demonic symbol, instantly dealing fire damage and reducing the damage they do to you by 40% for 10 seconds. So this is magic and physical damage. It's just all damage they do by 40% for 10 seconds. So, if you know that the boss is about to do some spike damage to you, if you're just taking a ton of damage and you need that breathing room, but mind you, it's only on the target that you put it on. Then we have Glide, reduces your falling speed. You can activate this ability with the jump key while falling. And then so you have your double jump, and then you can glide. So that's that. Then we have Immolation Aura. It's an instant ability on a 14.4 second cooldown. Engulf yourself in flames, instantly causing fire damage to the enemies within 8 yards and radiating fire damage every second. Lasts 6 seconds, generates 20 pain over 6 seconds. So you want to use this on cooldown just to get that, that pain flowing. You're going to have Shear and Immolation Aura as well as Fellblade, which generate pain, and then you have other abilities that dump that, obviously. Then we have Imprison. It's a CC. Imprisons a demon for 1 minute. Damage will cancel the effect limit 1. Infernal Strike. Leap through the air toward a target location, dealing fire damage to all enemies within 6 yards. It's a 30-yard range and a 20-second recharge. You have 2 charges of it. So that basically looks like, where is it? Right here. You just charge the target. So it's a pretty cool looking ability. It looks really nice. And it just does damage. It's basically like the Demon Hunter Heroic Leap. And then we have Metamorphosis. It's an instant ability on a 3-minute cooldown. Transform to demon form for 15 seconds, increasing current and maximum health by 45%. Generates 7 pain every 1 second. Then we have Shear. It's an instant ability. Shears an enemy for physical damage and has a small chance to shatter a lesser soul fragment from your target that heals you health when consumed. Generates 10 pain. One thing to keep in mind with the Vengeance Demon Hunter is soul fragments are a big deal. You wanna collect those. You want to be using those because they buff your survivability or mitigation abilities as well. And we'll talk about that when we're going over the rotation I use. Then we have Sigil of Flame. Places a Sigil of Flame at your location that activates after 2 seconds, deals fire damage and an additional fire damage over 8 seconds to all enemies affected by the sigil. So that's a really nice damage ability. You can just put it down and it just anybody in that range gets hit by fire and then has a dot on them. Then we have Sigil of Misery. Places a Sigil of Misery at your location, activates after 2 seconds, causes all enemies affected by the sigil to cower in fear. Targets are disoriented for 32 seconds. Then we have Silence, which is an AoE silence, which is really nice. Just make sure that if you're going to use that silence, if you know the cast is about to come and it's interruptible, then, and the cast is shorter than 2 seconds, put it up right before the cast starts. Otherwise, if it's shorter than 2 seconds and you're reacting to that cast, you're not going to get the effect of it in time. Then we have Soul Carver, which is an artifact ability. Carve into the soul of your target, dealing fire damage and an additional fire damage over 3 seconds. Immediately shatters 2 lesser soul fragments from the target and 1 additional lesser soul fragment every 1 second. So like I was saying, soul fragments are really important, and your artifact weapon knows that. Then we have Soul Cleave. It costs 30 to 60 pain. It's more powerful based on how much pain you use, up to 60. Viciously strikes all enemies in front of you for up to 140,000 physical damage and heals you for up to 203,000 based on pain spent. Consumes all soul fragments within 20 yards. So that's going to give you a big heal, and it's an AoE frontal strike. Then we have Throw Glaive. Throw a demonic glaive at the target, dealing physical damage. The glaive can ricochet to two additional enemies within 10 yards, generates high threat. So, when you're initially pulling a boss, that's something you could use, right before you use your Fellblade, aka your charge. Then we have Torment, instant ability. It's your taunt. It's on an 8-second cooldown, taunts the target and forces them to attack you for 3 seconds. And then we're going to look at our passives. Demonic Wards. Your tattoos reduce magic damage taken by 10% and increase your stamina by 45% and your armor by 120%. So that's nice. Then we have Double Jump. We talked about that. Double Jump right there. Mastery Fell Blood. Demon Spikes reduce physical damage taken by an additional 18.18%. Also increases your attack power by 18%. With that said, just based on the importance of things that are on recharge, I think the stat priorities are going to be agility, haste, and then mastery. Haste because you want that demon spike to come off recharge as soon as possible, and then mastery because you want that increased physical damage reduction. So it would probably be haste, mastery, and versatility. And then we have Shattered Souls. Killing a target will sometimes shatter their soul, leaving a soul fragment behind for 20 seconds. The soul fragment will be consumed when you approach it, healing you for X amount of health. Consuming a demon soul will grant you 20% increased damage for 15 seconds. So moving on to the talent trees, we're going to start with Agonizing Flames. Immolation Aura increases your movement speed by 30% and deals 50% increased damage. I like this for the mobility that you gain from using it, and you're using your Immolation Aura on cooldown. If for anything else, just to generate that pain. And then Razor Spikes. While Demon Spikes is active, you deal 20% increased physical damage, and your melee attacks snare targets by 50% for 6 seconds. So again, I like this ability. This is nice, but they both increase damage, and I feel like Agonizing Flames does more. So then we have Feast of Souls. It's a passive ability. Soul Cleave heals you for an additional 87,000 over 6 seconds. And then we have Fallout. Both of these are things that'll help you, heal yourself. This one is Burning Alive is a damage ability that we're not going to be worried about right now. Fallout is a passive. Immolation Aura's initial burst has a chance to shatter lesser soul fragments from enemies. Now, the reason I took Feast of Souls over Fallout is because this is guaranteed heal over time after that initial heal, where this only has a chance to give you a soul fragment. So soul fragments are important, but I'd rather have a guaranteed extra heal. And then in the next tier, we have Fellblade. It's an instant ability on a 14.4 second cooldown. Charge your target and deal 65,000 fire damage. Sheer has a chance to reset the cooldown of Fellblade, generates 20 pain. Now, the nice thing about this is your primary pain generator is Sheer, which generates 10 pain, but then your Fellblade generates 20 pain, right? So that's double the amount that Sheer does, and Sheer has a chance to reset the cooldown of Fellblade, so it doesn't cost anything to use. So when you're, in the rotation, it's going to benefit you to, when you're in the part of your rotation where you're building pain up, whenever Fellblade is available, you're going to use it. And the nice thing is you can use it in melee range. So you don't need to be at a certain, distance away to be able to activate it. You can use it right in the melee range. It does the damage, it generates the pain. So, just use that on cooldown when you're working on generating pain. Moving on, we have Fracture. Feed the Demon, and Soul Rending. Feed the Demon is a passive. Consuming a soul fragment reduces the remaining cooldown of demon spikes by 1 second. Fracture. Brutally slam your target for 178,000 physical damage and shatter 2 lesser soul fragments from them. The reason I like this ability is because every time you use it, you get 2 soul fragments, which can buff your soul barrier and your soul cleave. Soul barrier is just the last 110 tier talent I chose to take, but using this ability, I like to build up my pain and then use fracture and then either soul cleave or soul barrier. So that just buffs those abilities more. And then we have soul rending. You gain 50% leech each while metamorphosis is active. But the thing is metamorphosis is on a 3-minute cooldown, so the amount of time you're actually going to get that benefit is minimal at best, where you can be building constantly building soul fragments, or you can constantly be reducing the cooldown of your demon spikes. And then we have tier on sigils. We have concentrated sigils, sigil of chains, and quickened sigils. Concentrated sigils, all sigils are now targeted at your location, and the duration of their effect is increased by 2 seconds. So you get the duration of those abilities. Primarily you're going to use flame for damage, unless you're in a 5-man dungeon. I could see where your other sigils would be far more beneficial in certain circumstances, but you're going to be using that. And then sigil of chains, it's an instant ability on a 1-minute cooldown. Place a sigil of chains at the target location that activates after 2 seconds. All enemies affected by the sigil are pulled to its center and are snared, reducing movement speed by 70% for 8 seconds. So that's a really cool ability. That's going to be that specific encounter where that is the talent that you're going to want to bring to the table. And then quicken sigils. All sigils activate 1 second faster, and their cooldowns are reduced by 20%, so you can just use them a little bit quicker and more effectively. Then we have Fell Devastation, Blade Turning, and Spirit Bomb. Honestly, I just went with Blade Turning because I felt like I had so many abilities to use. I had a hard time finding a place for Spirit Bomb and Fell Devastation. Regardless, we'll go over them. Unleash Fell Devastation costs 30 pain. It's a channel. It's a 1-minute cooldown. Unleash the Fell within you, damaging enemies directly in front of you for fire damage over 1.9 seconds, causing damage. Also heals you for up to 564,000 health. Now, I use this ability quite a bit when testing the different builds, and when you're taking high damage, it really didn't feel like that enormous of a heal. It was a pretty nice heal, but I don't know, it just didn't make it feel worth it. And then Blade Turning is a passive. It takes no managing. Parrying an attack increases the pain generation of your next shear by 50%. Now, I think Fell Devastation, you're going to get more out of it, but in the long run, this is going to be nice. You're going to get more pain generation every time you parry, and when you're using demon spikes, you have an increased chance to parry, so you're going to be parrying often. So that's going to be I don't think it's the greatest, but again, there's so much already to use to heal you, to mitigate. I just didn't feel like I needed something else to be healing me, especially when it costs 30 pain. And then Spirit Bomb is an instant ability. Launch a nearby soul fragment at your target, dealing 75,000 shadow damage to all nearby enemies and afflicting them with frailty for 15 seconds. You heal for 10% of all damage you deal to enemies with frailty. So, that's also an interesting thing. It could prove beneficial, but again, I felt like I had enough things to heal me already, so I went with the ability that just gave me, more pain generation. And then we have Last Resort, Nether Bond, and Soul Barrier. Last Resort is a passive. Sustaining fatal damage instead transform you to Metamorphosis form and returns you to 30% health. This effect may only occur every 3 minutes, so it's basically, it's a save you ability. And then we have Nether Bond, which I think is a really cool ability. This is kind of like that shaman totem. I can't think of the name right now, but it's between you and one other person. And it's a 2-minute cooldown, instant ability. Bind yourself to a friendly player for 15 seconds. Every 1 second, the health of you and your target is redistributed such that you are at the same percentage of maximum health. So let's say you're in a 25-man raid. you and the other tank are tanking. The other tank has the boss, and you have the debuff, so you can't taunt the boss back, or you would mess up the mechanic and end up dying. But the guy, the other tank starts taking a ton of damage. You can put Nether Bond on him, and then his health is going to come up. If he's getting a lot of spike damage and is in danger of dying, you can cast Nether Bond on him, and it's going to really help the healers keep the damage that you guys get. It's going to smooth out the damage that the two tanks are taking. So, that's a really strong ability in raid encounters. I could see myself using that all the time, especially during progression. And then we have finally Soul Barrier. This is something I would take for a 5-man dungeon. It costs 30 pain, 20-second cooldown. Shield yourself for 8 seconds, absorbing 338,000 damage. Consuming a soul fragment adds 56,000 to the shield. Soul Barrier's absorption cannot be reduced below 45,000. Consumes all soul fragments within 20 yards. So it, has an initial soul fragment, or initial absorption of 338,000, and then each soul fragment that it consumes adds 56,000 to the shield, and then it consumes all the soul fragments within 20 yards. So, again, your Soul Cleave, which heals you, and your Soul Barrier, which absorbs damage, those things are, essential to soul fragments. So generating soul fragments is very important. So let's take a look at the single target rotation in an ideal world where you're not, so much worried about mitigation, and you can spend more time putting up, damage. So first and foremost, you can use your Fellblade, or you can use your Infernal Strike to move in, and then you're gonna build some pain. You're gonna use Demon Spikes, and always make sure you never have 2 charges of Demon Spikes sitting there, because you're just gonna be wasting active mitigation you could be using. And then you're going to put down Immolation Aura on cooldown, Sigil of Flame on cooldown, just to get the extra damage. And then you're going to build Rage. You're going to build Pain with Shear and Fellblade. And then you're going to dump that for damage. You're going to dump it on Fracture and Soul Cleave. So, for your damage rotation, that is your single and AoE target rotation you're going to use right there. You're going to use Immolation Aura and Sigil of Flame on cooldown. You're going to use Fellblade and Shear to build Pain. And then you're going to use Fracture, which slams the target and generates soul fragments. And you're going to use Soul Cleave to spend your pain that you generated. Now we're going to take a look at the artifact weapon, going right to left. Defensive Spikes increases your chance to parry by an additional 10% for the first 3 seconds after activating Demon Spikes. Embrace the Pain increases maximum health gained from Metamorphosis by an additional 15%. Infernal Force increases damage dealt by Infernal Strike by 15%. Painbringer, each soul fragment you consume reduces all damage you take by 3% for 4 seconds. Devour Souls, Soul Cleave heals for an additional 9%. Soul Carver, we talked about that one, where you carve into the soul of the target, dealing fire damage, and an additional fire damage over 3 seconds. Immediately shatters 2 soul fragments from the target and 1 additional soul fragment every 1 second. Tormented Souls increases damage dealt by Soul Cleave by 10%. Shatter the Souls. Shear has a 15% increased chance to shatter a lesser soul fragment from your target while you are below 50% health. Then Will of the Illidari increases maximum health by 3%. Honed Warblades increases damage dealt by Shear by 9%. Charred Warblades heal for 15% of all fire damage you deal, which is a really nice ability and makes Sigil of the Flame nice to have up. Then Siphon Power. Empower Wards increases your agility by up to 15% for 10 seconds based on magic damage you take while it is active. Aura of Pain increases damage dealt by Immolation Aura by 9%. Demonic Flames increases the duration of Fiery Brand by 2 seconds. Fiery Demise. Fiery Brand also increases fire damage you deal to the target by 30%. Aldraki Design increases your chance to parry by 3%. And Fueled by Pain, you have a chance to activate Metamorphosis for 5 seconds each time you consume a soul fragment. And then Soul Gorger. The power of countless souls drained by the blades now reinforce your life force, increases total health by 5%. So that's the artifact weapon. Lastly, let's see how much this Vengeance Demon Hunter can withstand. Is the Vengeance Demon Hunter. You have a lot of survivability, a lot of mitigation, a lot of self-heals. It's been a lot of fun playing this class in the beta. So, there's going to be a lot that changes. Not everything I talked about may be correct. The build might not be perfect, but regardless, it's, a first look, and it's been a lot of fun to play. So if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.